Hey everybody, it's Brendan with EVOQ Bike. Big gravel boss dog Matt Beers on the podcast today. You've heard him on other shows talking about how big his FTP is and just these insane watts that he puts out, but he really delves into what is he doing to create these watts, what does he do too much of, what does he wish he does more of. It's a really good peek behind the curtain of what he's doing. Got his first big lifetime Grand Prix win this year. A lot of good things come from him in the future. Good luck with everybody with your training and racing. If you're still racing, maybe you're in base training. If you need any training plans, hit us up on our Training Peak store, Training Peak subscriptions, blah, blah, blah. Matt, thanks so much for taking the time to do the podcast. Good luck, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show. See ya. Let's do a quick intro. Just I think there might be like two people that don't know who you are. People might think you're only a gravel racer, which will be interesting. And then we'll jump into it. So everybody, welcome to the EVOQ Bike podcast. We got a big watt monster here today, Matt Beers. Matt, if you can give a quick intro, we'd love to hear from you.
Hey, yeah, I'm Matt Beers. I'm from South Africa. I race for Specialized Off-Road, and I'm I suppose a gravel / came from mountain bike guy.
Awesome. I love it. So let's jump into the training. Actually, you kind of set it off with a big picture overview of you're going into the off season a little bit forced, but do you have a specific base season? Everybody's kind of talking about that now for a lot of roadies and gravel racers. How do you view your kind of big picture of a year of training?
Yeah, for us, it's quite challenging actually, because I race from around sometimes beginning of Jan until mid-November. So it's a really stretched out season. So that obviously leaves you with a very small window, which is basically the month of November till early December off. And then, training and pretty much racing again in end of Jan. So it's a bit, it's gnarly sometimes, but it's what we've done for many years. So used to it now.
So when you say gnarly, just as the intensity on the body or trying to mentally get back into racing so quickly, or do you feel like if you could extend it, like, is there any benefit of saying, hey, I'm going to write off these early season races in January. I just need more time to shut it down. Or is that just not possible?
It used to not be possible because when I was more sponsored by like South African teams, now I'm obviously with like more US international. So like the sponsorship focus isn't so heavily on those like early season races. So it has luckily been able to like shift I can wait maybe till Feb. And then obviously Epic is in March, which is always a big goal.
Mm-hmm.
So even that, like if you go backwards, it's a tight turnaround.
And then I guess my last question on that is, is it only the mental side of being like, okay, I don't have to do intervals, I'm not going super hard, or do you feel like physiologically, hey, I need 8 weeks where I can just do like traditional, more endurance and like get off the gas?
Yeah, I think that's like also like doing a race in Jan when you're like fat and unfit is just absolutely miserable. And that kind of just like ruins you mentally. Sometimes you do really well, but like other times you don't, and it's just like, man, this is just rough. So I think as I get older now too, it takes a little bit more time to get fitter. Like when I was whatever 24, I mean, damn, you get fit in like 6 weeks, you ready to go. Now it's the weight takes a little longer to get off. Like you're a bit more of a diesel, so just physiological changes.
I think that's a really powerful thing that you tapped into of, you go to this early season race, even though it's early season, you might tell yourself, hey, this is just a race in January. It kind of calibrates your year. So would you say early season races have a little bit of priority too, just to get that mindset of knowing where you stack up in the field and not just going and getting waxed?
Yeah, it definitely helps. Like I don't want to like go into like a priority race, let's say like Epic, for instance, in March, like not off the couch, but just off of big training. It's kind of nice to see, in early Feb, like, okay, cool. All the work we've put in, it's looking good. We can tweak it a little bit more. things like that. That definitely helps just as a marker. And then also like, like you're nervous. You don't want to be like your first race back was such a big race, rather just like get your ass kicked a little bit by the youngsters like in the beginning. And then, yeah, then like by the time you get into those big races, just you back in the rhythm and the flow
Mm.
of preparation. Yeah.
So what would those tweaks and the kind of like pre-races to the big race before your first, bigger race? Let's use Epic in March. What does that 6 weeks before look like? What kind of, when you're talking about tweaks, what is that like nitty-gritty stuff that you're like, hey, I'm a little bit off on this like 5-minute power, or just my ability to follow moves, or how, are you taking that from training or these early season races and then adjusting?
Yeah, like precisely that. Like maybe obviously every year we kind of change things slightly. Like there's more, whether it be, there's more research on metabolic work, talk work. So you kind of implement these things, and that can always like kind of change how you feel on the bike when it comes to a race. So yeah, for instance, if you're really just struggling to do that like over under kind of work, which is normally the case, it's then we know, okay, cool, we're gonna like implement a little bit of like over under work. It can be like talk over under or just intensity, and then like 40-20, all that 30-30 type stuff. And then a big one is also gut. Like it takes, like when you have to, dumping all those carbs in for races, you can train your gut as much as you can. Just nailing down that again, I feel always takes like a race or two just to recalibrate and not go, not go over or go under, and just get back into the rhythm. Yeah.
What kind of number of carbs are you looking to hit on a big, let's say 5, 6, 7 hour race?
Depends on the conditions a lot, like heat. If it's
Yep.
hot,
I love that.
yeah, I try and I bring it down quite a bit, just because I've noticed that obviously a lot of the blood is drawing away from your stomach to your muscles and trying to cool your body down. So then I've found that I really struggle to actually digest. So I will, let's say, on a really hot day, obviously it's summer now, like till Feb, I'll go down from like 140, 120 down to like, yeah, like the 80, maximum 100 if it's really hot. Yeah. And maybe try and do the carbs a little higher in the morning, like early on in the race, and then as it gets hotter, just kind of drop it down and get that little bit more water. Yeah.
Does
So
that change the dinner the night before at all, or anything like loading wise?
mm, not too much. I mean, you don't want to like over,
Mhm.
you know, glycogen overload yourself, because that can also have implications to your stomach and your gut. But definitely like hydrating a little bit, maybe a little bit of hyperhydration the night before and the morning of, having like a liter of water from when you wake up to the start line, just kind of
Mm.
so the body's a bit full of it, and then at least it'll kind of, burn off over the day. Yeah.
It sounds like you have this really dialed, and nutrition can be such a tricky thing for so many athletes. How long do you think it took you to get this? Like, okay, I've got my numbers pretty locked in. Has it been a multi-season type thing?
Oh, yeah. It's been like 5 years, I think. Like, it's really long. Like, I would say the first time it kind of like clicked, or like started getting more, gut training and just kind of just being a lot more conscious about how I feel and what works for me and different races. Yeah, it took many, many years. And once you kind of find a good, what works for you, you can try and control it. But I still mess up. Like at Leadville, I messed up. I carved up way too much for the altitude, and my my gut just went into distress, and that was it. Game over. When had to go to the bushes. So
Oh, damn, that's frustrating. When
Yeah.
when you use the term gut training, is it anything beyond just eating the same amount of carbs when you're training and doing early season races, or are there things like off the bike or with quote unquote normal foods that you're doing to try and help this absorption of carbohydrate?
Yeah, it's obviously mainly on the bike, like just fueling like, 3 times a week on the sessions that are hard, fueling to the grams that you want to do for racing. And then also periodizing the carbohydrate intake for those days, and then for your rest days also is a huge thing, like making sure you filling those glycogen stores 2 days out and then dropping it off if you have an easier day. Like all that kind of plays into how you can feel and how like also your lactate responds and like all these variable things.
That's awesome for amateur athletes to hear that someone at your level is still like getting everything dialed in. It's not just a season because it can be so
Yeah.
frustrating when people have those races and like, what the hell? I thought this was just like take 100 grams and I was good to go. I was like, no, man, there's so much nuance to this. And I love that you brought up the heat and just so many other factors that jump in as that could be a podcast in itself. So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
talking about the length of the season being so long, do you look at certain events that you're trying to peak for? And if yes, how does that kind of tweak the training? Or are you an athlete that says, hey, super long year, I'm going to try and roll 95% the entire season, like events come and go. I just need to be ready for something that could pop up 4 weeks out. How does that look for you over that whole long race window?
Yeah, I would say I'm kind of an athlete like that we always kind of just on a really high baseline, you would call
Mhm.
it. Like if there's something, obviously we know the races that have priority, like, well, for me personally, like Epic, Unbound, some of the end of season races, Sea Otter, Big Sugar. But yeah, I there's also a lot of other races that we throw in throughout the year. Um, so yeah, just keeping a really solid kind of high ceiling, and then just squeezing what we can out for you know, those big ones. And it has worked really well. I think naturally I'm really strong kind of that Feb, March, April, May, it starts like dipping. And then I don't know, my whole career, I've just really struggled in the middle of the year. Um, and then at the end of the year, I just start flying again. And I mean, if you go back and look at all my historical results, you'll probably see it's a pretty, I don't know what it is, but it's just a pattern.
So some reverse bell curve. Is that when
It's
do you
weird.
start to feel that? And you're like, ooh, I'm kind of coming off form. Do you take a rest? Is there like a mid-season break that you jump on?
Yeah, like for the last few years after Unbound, we kind of shut it down. Obviously, it's a kind of like after that, it's quite quiet the season in a sense, and then you would start building up for Leadville, one of these races with altitude and stuff. Um, but yeah, a mid-season break is pretty crucial, especially with the preparation of like Unbound, when you're having to do these pretty hefty weeks of back to back big hours. You're on your hands and knees by the end of that.
So let's talk about those two polar opposites. What does shutting it down mean to you? Is that probably not 0 hours? And then what is a big mega week that when you see it on the calendar, you're thinking, damn, that is a lot of freaking bike riding.
Yeah, so I would say probably like 4 or 5 days completely off the bike, and then
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, then maybe some just like hikes, runs, well, whatever you call it when a cyclist runs. I'm not that gifted. Um, yeah, just kind of maybe doing something that you haven't done. Um, but yeah, then I mean, you barely lose fitness, to be honest. Like
Mhm.
it's, if anything, it just it's more of a mental break actually. And then, yeah, the big weeks ranges about 30 to 37 kind of. Yeah. So that's, I
Got it.
mean, you do the math, it's many hours.
Is the 37 a lot of 6-hour rides? Are you one of those guys that likes to throw an 8-hour in there? What's your mega day?
Yeah, 8 will be about the max. But we'll do like a lot of 6 and then obviously an hour heat training straight after. So
On the trainer.
yeah, on the trainer.
Oh my
So
gosh, that sounds
so
brutal.
that gets miserable.
Oh, wow.
But
8-hour ride, are you doing just endurance or how are you riding that?
we do kind of for Unbound a lot of metabolic work. So like what would that be? Like 4 to 4.5 watts per kilo with like at like 30. It can be 30-minute blocks with like short rest or 45 with slightly lower watts per kilo or like an hour block. So let's say you ride 2 hours, hour, 4 watts a kilo, another hour, and then another hour. And then,
Ooh. So for you, is that like a tempo watt or low threshold, or where does that come out around?
yeah, like tempo, I would
Tempo.
say. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like,
That's a hefty day for a guy like you putting out those watts. Do you know, is
yeah,
that
it's
like
like 380.
13 1,300 kJs an hour or maybe
Yeah,
more?
something like that. I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
and then obviously now we have to work on a lot of sprints at the end of these because that's what these races come down to a lot of the time. So like just giving everything you can under like that amount of load with that amount of kjs. Yeah, it's a different type of sprinting. It's more
Yeah.
like whatever you can recruit, really.
So can you go in on that? Because I think sprinting is such an interesting little part of our sport that, as you're saying, it's so important, but I think it's not talked about a ton. There's like people who are like, I'm a sprinter. Everyone else is kind of
Mhm.
like, I've got an okay sprint, whatever. What would you do to work on yours? Maybe one is these late in the day sprints, but is there a form you work on or cadence or torque or any other tidbits that you might have on sprinting?
Yeah, so I've always just sucked at sprinting, and I think mainly because I just didn't do enough of it. Like
Mm,
it's because now I'm not like terrible at it, but it I think the best thing I can say is just kind of figuring out, yeah, what gear works for you. How do you wind it up? Are you better like off the bottom, or do you need to like wind it up longer? Or we all different, and we all somehow sprint slightly different. So for me, it was just finding out which kind of works for me, and then using that in a race. And yeah, that like my peak is not that high, but I can hold a really good watt for like a long time when I'm complete like
okay.
7 hours in, for instance.
Yeah. So I was going
Yeah.
to clarify that. So when you're saying like off the bottom versus holding it, so like if someone just like super sharp and snappy and has this
Mm.
fast acceleration, or as you're saying, you're more like Ollie Jet 20-second hold this like
Yeah.
1,000 watts, 1,100, whatever it is, like for a longer time. So figure out where you're at in that ballpark. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like
Okay.
off the bottom, like that real snap, I just can't do like physiologically.
Mm,
It doesn't matter how much gym I do. It's just the fast twitch. Even a neuromuscular like signaling, I think. Um, so yeah, I just focus on what I can do and just bringing it up to speed is obviously as high as I can, but then just holding as many watts as you can as for as long as
cool.
yeah.
Good sidebar there that you brought up was strength. Are you in the gym often, all year, part of the year? Like it, hate it? Where you at with
Yeah.
all that?
for for Epic, like when I'm here at home and I'm like in one place, I definitely do 2 to 3 times a week.
Mm,
A lot of strength work. Um, and then it gets really tricky once I start traveling a lot because you in and out of places and you're just kind of doing what you can with what you have. So it does drop off quite a bit. Um, and then like Unbound, it was kind of hard because we've tried to do a lot of gym but then the hours are so much that the gym becomes like almost useless, and you get like the injury margin gets quite high just because you're putting so much load through the body, and then you're loading it with this biomechanical work. And yeah, it's a very fine line. You have to be very careful.
Mm.
um so yeah, didn't really answer your question, but like
No, you did.
we try. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a really important piece of that bringing up. It's like the stress from all these hours versus the biomechanical stress of lifting, like finding that line is, I think, is really
Mhm.
good gem to hear. When you mentioned doing what you can, let's say you're in a period where you want to be lifting 2 to 3 times a week, you show up at this hotel and they have dumbbells up to, like 30 kgs, the basic hotel, whatever stuff. Are you trying to make something happen there, or is that nah, I'm good?
It depends, like how the race is. Like if I'm like, for instance, Keegan Swenson's a good friend of mine, and he has like a nice gym set up at home, and I stay with him quite often. Then I will, carry on that. But if I'm like just bouncing from Airbnb to Airbnb like 4 weeks, I
Mm,
mean, then you're just trying to do like some core work and kind of keep the body firing. Maybe just some
okay,
body weight stuff. Um, yeah, that's kind of all you can do, to be honest. Um,
cool.
I, yeah, it's definitely don't. I wouldn't go out my way to the extent where it's just burning unnecessary stress and energy to like get in one workout. It's like you may
Hmm.
as well just focus on recovery or or training. Yeah.
I like that. So, what a lot of people from this podcast love, let's get into some nitty gritty workouts that really get you going, that you feel like, maybe it's this pre epic race or even something before Unbound. Any sessions that you can think of where you're just like, if I can complete this, I know this moves the needle. Maybe something you hate doing too. It's hard and you just got to go out and crush it. What's one or maybe two that come to mind?
Well, I have a pretty grippy ones where it's like a 4 hour session.
Yes.
But basically out the gate, you just sit at, for me, it's four point something watts a kilo. So like 370, 360.
Okay. This is going to be
For,
hilarious to listen to.
um, is that right? Yeah, like 350 to 370, kind of that
Okay.
area. And then at the end of that, so do that for 3 hours. And then at the end of that, try and do 10 minutes at like 6 to 6.5 watts. Um, do one, come down, do another one, and then that's it. That's done. If you can do that, like you're gonna be just fine. You're probably gonna win some races.
Do you feel, where does high intensity come in for you? Because I can see someone maybe like you're not somebody that's going to get blown out the back from like some heart attacks early. Is that something that you're just naturally good at? So you're thinking, hey, the big session for me is just this huge KJ expenditure. I mean, 350 to 370 for 3 hours and then doing 10-minute efforts. Do you not have to worry about those short, sharp VO2 anaerobic things? How does that play into your prep?
Yeah, we do quite a bit of um like obviously 40-20 work, 30-30, a lot of like a 1 minute on, 1 minute off for like 20 minutes, kind of that over under work. Um, we do still keep intensity pretty high. I think naturally I can go pretty ham. Like I don't need a whole lot, I don't think.
Mm.
But these races now that I do on the gravel specifically, we do need to focus more on, just making sure you can fuel, because I think these rides more, that ride that I explained to you, 3 hours, it more
Mm.
just like you cannot complete that ride if you don't nail your fueling, hydration, eating the day before, 3 days out. Like all that plays a part into finishing that. So I just feel like it's such a good, just making sure you do everything correctly. And then if you apply that to race day, I mean, in theory, you should be okay. So
Okay.
it's kind of
What
like
swing?
a, yeah,
No, go ahead.
like a, it's almost like a race prep. Yeah, just making sure you dialed everything. Yeah.
Love that. With the minute on, minute off, do you know what type of power are you doing for that? Is that a like an over under or
Yeah, so it'll be like 25 minutes long, and then I'll sit at like it's around 400 to 420, and
Hmm.
then above is like 520 to 550.
Oh my God, I thought that was gonna be the over. Dude, that's insane. So just 1 minute on off going over up and down. And you're doing a
Yeah,
couple of those maybe?
it's
Or
20
one?
minutes.
The
So
one. One and done?
no, so it's one. So what would that be? 10 times, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
So
you're doing a repeat of
we'll,
that?
oh no, twice. Yeah,
Okay, twice.
yeah, normally
Okay.
twice.
That's a big
Um,
KJ effort right there too.
yeah,
Woo.
exactly. Just
Okay.
it really simulates that, like, just accelerating. It feels fine in the first 10 minutes, and then you start hanging on for dear life. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. All right, sort of a hypothetical question. Is there anything that you wish you could do more of in training? Maybe you can because there's time or travel or whatever, and then maybe at the same time, something that you're doing, you're like, I should probably do less of this.
Hmm. Uh, probably gym work. I should do a little more. Um, yeah, I think I inherently don't enjoy it that much. It's kind of
Mm.
boring. Um, I know some people love it. I'm not one to do that. And then I should probably just not ride so much. It's probably
Ah,
my problem. I don't rest enough.
I like that. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
What what is it do you think that you do get from the gym? Is it obviously strength, but is that for something in, the demands of gravel, the physical demands of it, or is it purely watt based? That hey, when I strength train, I put out more watts.
I think what I notice personally is definitely endurance, like end of a big KJ and then doing an effort, definitely like sprinting. And then I think just general injury prevention, to be honest,
Mm,
like, whether it be your knees, like maybe your knees acting up a bit, your lower back, um, and just keeping body composition like pretty good, to be honest. It's just another workout that burns a little bit of calories, or a lot of calories actually, because it's that like skeletal system that,
mhm.
burns good fat and, yeah, just keeps you nice and lean some as well.
Very cool. What about any bro science that you believe in where you're like, there's no data about this, but I know when I do this, I just feel good. And maybe it's not even faster. It's just like I feel good from doing this.
Hmm. I don't actually know. Maybe just like riding too hard in like a no man land zone.
What would
It's
that be
not
for?
like,
Yeah, like too much tempo, or what do you kind of consider that no man's land?
it's like not metabolic like that 350, but it's not 280. You kind of just like, it's like floating between like 300, 310, 320. It's like, it doesn't really do anything. It's just, you just ride kind of fast. It's a
Yeah.
stupid
Okay.
zone.
So let me ask you a dumb question. When you refer to things as like metabolic, someone's gonna be like, what is he talking about? What does that mean to you? Like, what are you training besides obviously metabolism? But like, can you break that down?
It's, well, my coach, I don't know why, because people call it like tempo, metabolic. I
Yeah.
suppose it's just, you know, it's a metabolic system that like burns up, you're just burning through fuel like
Okay.
you
Yeah.
cannot believe. Um, it's essentially it's zone two, like, like the UAE zone two, where it's like this
Mm.
very high. It's
Hmm.
not actually zone two, what people think. Their zone two is like this, like tempo riding. actually.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the pedals, on the gas. Like a lot of like what Quinn does too, just on the gas. I think, I don't know what he calls it. Keegan also calls it like N plus, I think they call it. It's very
Okay.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone just has a different term.
I was gonna say, yeah, because when we did the podcast with Quinn, Landry was on, who knows much more about Quinn's training than I do, and they got on this thread. I'm like, I don't even know what these guys are talking about. D1 workout and N1. It might have been N1 and something else.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think that's yeah. I won't go down that there, but yeah,
It's basically tempo.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, perfect.
High KJ work. You pretty much just have to fuel, and it just helps you become really efficient in, in that pedaling and just your body, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I love that answer. Is there anything that you could change about training right now, like training with watts? And it's you're obviously working with a coach as you mentioned, and you have some like awesome sessions. Is there anything that could be like better incorporated into training? That maybe it's technology or nutrition or whatever. And maybe there's not, but sometimes people are like, "Man, I can't wait until there's this thing."
Uh, hmm. It's a tricky one. I feel like we're pretty lucky. We have it pretty good. Maybe like glucose, like the kind of, but that also is like, it would have to be like real time, kind of
Mm-hmm.
really good, like a inside tracker in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But heat, I would say heat actually. If there was
Okay.
something, obviously the core sensors, uh, yeah, they're questionable whether, like, how well they work. But if there was
Mm-hmm.
something that was really accurate, like I think some of the triathletes get like a pill you can swallow,
Mm.
and then it tells you your core, because that's a huge with the heat. Like just knowing when you need to back off and when you don't, just go over that core temp. That would be cool.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's talk about the bike handling and the skills aspect of the riding and racing that you're doing. You always hear like, "Oh, mountain bike helps," but like it doesn't. People don't necessarily know like what does that mean. Are there any? Probably have pretty damn good handling from the riding that you've come from. But are there any like drills or things when one of your buddies who might have come from the road isn't getting into gravel or maybe he's going into mountain biking and you're like, dude, you need some work on this. What is it besides just riding off road? Or maybe that is the answer, ride off road more to help some athletes that are listening who are getting into gravel and like, dude, I just, we're ripping down this descent and I get dropped. How would you have a friend address that?
I shouldn't speak too confidently because I'm here with a rash on my nose and on my head with a broken collarbone. But um, it, um, but definitely, obviously for me, the mountain bike background.
Hmm.
Well, first racing motocross, and then mountain
Oh,
bike.
okay.
Obviously, these two things were pretty integral parts of making
Mhm.
gravel very much like a tame thing for me. Um,
Mm.
but I think a big thing is just you just need to ride. Like a lot of these, I don't think a lot of people actually ride like gravel descents. They kind of only do the thing on race day because they're too scared, or they don't really. They're like, I'd rather just, you keep putting it off, and then when it
Mhm.
comes to race day, you just like, damn, now I have to do this like techie descent, or it's just, you just got to practice, like figure out your tire pressures. That can help a lot. Um, like my one friend who I ride with here, he struggles on the descents, but like he'll just put a bigger front tire on. Like let's say you can put like a 2.2 mountain bike tire on the gravel bike on just on the front, and then that will helps him so much on the descents just to have that little bit more confidence.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, just kind of playing on your bike, I think is important. Just understanding where the limit is, and yeah, and like I said, tire setup, and everything like that.
Those were really good, the tire pressure and playing on the bike, because that was the number one comment I heard from athletes that I don't know if you heard about people went to, the US Nats course out west, and it was, "Holy crap, we were ripping down this descent in a group." I realized I've not done this all year, and just what
Yeah,
you said, they go and race, but it's not that race. And it was the biggest race of the year for them. And they're like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, a
So,
lot of
okay.
people train, they do all the training, but then they forget like, yeah, to just test the limits on, you don't have to be dangerous, but just like, yeah, go be like, oh, let's go like, rip that descent that maybe is a little bit sketchy, but just go on your off day or something and just,
Mm.
yeah, learn how the bike reacts. Yeah.
What's talking about just setting at speed? How do you process, and maybe it's driven by the race and the people that you're racing against, but like puncture risk versus time you could gain on a descent and picking the lines accordingly? What's your brain going through in that? Like, when do you press on? And maybe it's always you're just like, I'm going ham. Or is it like, there's too much risk here, let me pull back? How does that play out?
Definitely, you definitely think about a lot. Like for instance, let's use gravel burn, which is a race I did 2 weeks ago. So there you're in the leader's jersey, everyone's ripping down the descent, and you're like, you need to stay in the front group, but maybe you don't want to go as ham as, there's always like two guys that are just going completely bat crazy. And so you find your limit and then figure out, okay, well, are they going to stay away? Probably not. Maybe just ride them back like over 5 minutes, or that's obviously I use that because I can roll back on a flat. That's where I have a lot of power and I use less energy because of just my momentum, my weight. So that's what I do personally. Just kind of, yeah, assess in the
Hmm.
moment
Yeah.
whether it's worth it or not. And if you feel comfortable and it is a good wheel to follow, like, your fellow riders, if there's a good wheel to follow, then cool. But if it's a guy like just doing erratic stuff, then rather just hang back or pass him. Yeah.
Okay. I like that. No, it's the so much processing going on in the bike race. And kind of along that same thread, thinking of Big Sugar gets shortened. It's 50 miles. You go early with Matt Wilson, Riley Amos. What That's the flip side. You're like, oh, sometimes two guys are going crazy. Was it the shortness of the race that made you think I'm just going to start throwing some haymakers, or was there something that happened that you're like, yo, we're taking off?
A bit of both. So obviously the short, I knew it would be around, 2.5 hours or like maximum.
Mm,
I know I've raced that type of like 2 hour my whole career as a mountain biker. So I know I
mhm,
can go pretty ham for that amount of time. And in saying that, I knew that there was a very big, um, what would you call it? Like a points. Well, there was Keegan, there was Simone, there was Cam Jones, and there was Toby Road, all looking at each other to win the series. So that's all firepower. And none of them are going to try and chase me back because they're all going to look at each other. So
okay.
I was like, could work today because there's a lot of looking around. And if you kind of disappear and they forget about you, then yeah, it'll only just grow. And which did kind of happen. So most of the guys didn't know I was up the road.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Yeah.
Interesting. They
So
they missed the big dog going.
yeah. So not often.
I'm curious about chain wax. Do you wax your chain?
Yeah. I use Squirt, which is South
Okay,
African company. Yeah.
cool. And what about, like, how do you treat this? Any contamination control for the really long gravel days?
Yeah. So theirs is it's obviously a wax. They all wax. They all have their little niche things that make them better. Um, but yeah, Squirt was one of like the original, drip wax lubes many, many years. And we were in development of this hot wax and yeah, just kind of same thing, clean the chain really well with just soap and like boiling water just to strip the wax out and then put in a pot. it's pretty much all the same process. And then that we use for like a gravel burn. We were doing around 2 every second day. We would change it. Um, yeah, it has a really quick break-in time. So you just warm up and it's pretty much broken in, and then you just apply a coat of fresh drip wax to it the evening, and then yeah, you're ready to go.
How many kilometers do you ride a chain before you toss it? And this might be, I don't know, maybe a mechanic is doing this for you and you don't know, that's fine. I'm just curious, somebody like you that's putting out so many watts all the time, even on your endurance rides, are you like ripping through chains, or do you find that wax is still like everyone touts how long everything lasts?
Yeah, I do. I'm a little harsh on group sets. I think Nebraska Gravel Worlds, which was 7 hours with like the mud and everything. So this was
Mhm.
obviously quite extreme conditions, but that was one chain, one
Oh,
day.
wow.
Yeah, it was gone.
What do you base that off of? Like, is it stretched, or you're just like, this
Yeah,
chain is crap at this
it's
point?
just stretched. It's finished.
Damn.
Um, yeah, but obviously that's you. I have to push a lot of watts, but then the mud and like
Mhm.
everything combined. But like, yes, I think on average it lasts like maybe 4 races, and then we would rather just put a new one on. Yeah,
Wow, okay. And so can you just feel this? Or are you using like a chain, gauge, like measurement device, or how do you, or you just like, "4 race,
I
let's get rid of
think
this thing."
mechanic Brad, I think he normally checks, but then also we would rather just take it off and then use them as training chains,
Got
and
it.
then just keep the race chains like super fresh and new. I
Cool.
don't think I actually go through them as a terms of like, oh, it's done. It was only
Mhm.
like these few weird circumstances, like Epic. We'll do a mud stage, and then it's literally the chain is finished. Um,
Hmm.
I think when it's yeah, when there's like harsh conditions, and then you're having to push all the power through the grit, and
Mhm.
I think the chain just gets eaten.
Yeah. Fair,
But
fair.
in general, they last pretty decent.
Okay. What about some, like, underrated, overrated things in, gravel tech right now? What do you think is, like, just way too many people are into it, and maybe a little secret that you've got, and you might not wanna let us know about that?
Hmm. No real secrets. I think underrated is just tires and wheels. To be honest, I
In
think
terms of
I mean having a really low rolling tire that doesn't puncture, and then wheels that back up the rolling, and then the aerodynamics is, I think that section can really improve your whole setup dramatically. Yeah.
what's your go-to setup for that?
So we have Pathfinder 50s now, which Pathfinder's been a really good gravel tire, and then we run the CLX 2 wheels, CLX 3. Uh, no, Terra, sorry, not
Terra.
CLX,
Okay.
Terra. Yeah, Terra 2. Um, yeah, so that's been kind of my go-to, and then we'd run the deeper wheels on some of the races, the road wheels actually.
Okay, cool. You talked about altitude, or mentioned it briefly when we were talking about nutrition. What are you doing for races like Leadville? You know, give me, I don't know what the altitude range would be in South Africa. Do you have like a high point that you go to, and like, do you spend time up there, or is this something that you would come over before a race and try and just get to a race really early? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so I've done it 2 ways the last few years. I've come up to Leadville pretty much like a week, 10 days out, and then just kind of acclimated in Denver, and then, just blast up super high and then figure it out.
Hmm.
And then I've stayed in Utah where I only know meters like 1,700,
Okay.
1,800. So what's that,
Mhm.
like 6,000 feet, maybe
Yeah, just
something like
under.
that.
Yeah.
Um, And then this year, like if you go more up country in South Africa, so I'm on the coast here in Cape Town, which is like 20 meters above sea level. My wife and I went up country, a place called Clarence, and that's around 1,000, around 6,000 feet, and
Okay.
stayed there for what was it, 3 weeks leading up to Leadville, and then I went to Denver, Leadville, and to be honest, I don't know, I was the worst I've ever been. So
Oof. Do you think it
it's
was maybe
you
not
never
enough
know.
time or?
Uh, I think I just don't know how to train I've never really trained at altitude too much.
Mhm.
So I think I was maybe riding too hard and not like I just kind of put myself in a hole.
Mm,
Because you have to back it off quite a bit everywhere. And I think
mhm,
I was just riding just too hard the whole time and just not recovering.
mm.
Um, Also trying to cut weight for Leadville doesn't help either. All
Plus,
these
I didn't realize
factors.
yeah, and then I had never realized we were training in Ecuador one time, and someone's like, "Well, you're burning so many more carbs at altitude because we were at
Hmm.
8,000 and going up to, like, 10 or 11,000." I said, "Wait, what are you talking about?" They're like, "You're eating more carbs, right?" I said, "No, that explains why I'm losing weight." So, yeah, if you're trying to cut weight, burning more carbs, yeah, that could
Uh,
be a funny math equation there, but
so that
okay.
that was my story. Um, I think it can work. I mean, it definitely does work. It's just I think you do really just have to be really monitored properly and
Mhm.
do blood tests before, after, make sure everything is looking good. Um, so yeah, just need to do it better, and
This
then
is kind of
I
in
think.
line with your tip, though, of nutrition. It took 5 years to
Mhm,
really tweak things, so altitude is, yeah, just as tricky, it sounds like.
exactly.
Let's wrap it up. I always get people that want to know these couple questions in the nutrition realm of things. If the gravel race is a crazy early start, do you eat less or do you wake up super early? How do you manage? I don't know if you do have many like 6 or 7 a.m. starts. Is that very early for you? How does that morning play out with nutrition?
Yeah, so sick. I guess Unbound we start at like 6, so
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
pretty early, and then a few other races too. But 7 is around the normal. So
Okay.
yeah, you're waking up between it's either 4 or 5, depending on the which one. Um, I think my go-to has pretty much been like this recent trend has been bagels. Like 2 bagels is 100 grams of carbs. Um, slap some jam on there and have a little like bowl of cornflakes, and yeah, you can get it up to 150 pretty quick, 200. Like if you 2 bagels, bowl of cornflakes, and like a 30-gram drink mix bottle, sipping through the morning, that's almost 200 grams of carbs. Pretty
Cornflake
easy.
on the podcast again. I'm surprised to hear this, but this is the go-to. All right, I like
Oh
this.
yeah. Who else had
Quinn did
cornflakes?
Yeah, Quinn
Quinn.
was a big cornflake
Okay.
guy. Yeah. So we'll
Or
see if
Rice
the next
Krispie.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Cornflakes or Rice Krispie. Kind of just something that you can wolf down and it doesn't really feel like anything. But the
Awesome.
bagels are great. Yeah.
What about nutrition plan for big weeks? Do you track macros or calories or do you just do it by feel?
Yeah, I have been tracking this year. Um, I was using Fuel, well, I have been using Fuel In, the app.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's actually it's been a really nice app, and just yeah, tracking definitely helps more on making sure you have enough. I don't think it's, and then obviously on the days that are low, like making sure you don't go over to just
Mhm,
maintain weight. The whole periodized, you know, um, carb thing that everyone's doing really
mhm,
works well for me. But yeah, you definitely tracking carbs is the biggest one, and protein. Like you can realize that you can be pretty behind on protein, I think, a
mhm.
lot of the time, which then increases hunger, and then maybe you eat too many carbs and not enough protein. So yeah, it's been quite interesting actually.
And I think my last question would be when you said the periodization, I think athletes are going to kind of get a sense of what you're talking about. But you'd mentioned before, like carbing up 3 days out, really you have to eat maybe a few less when you're tapering into something. Can you give a sort of big picture overview of what does carb periodization mean to you?
Yeah, so I work with Mike Postumus. He's a good friend, and he runs like the factory XCO team, specialized one. And yeah, he'll apply like obviously has access to training peaks. He can
Mhm.
see like, let's say um, you have Monday is a big day, Tuesday's easy, and then you have like a double, back to back kind of Wednesday, Thursday, and then you taper it down for the weekend. Then based off of that, how intense those rides are, you'll just kind of increase and decrease the amount of carbohydrate intake like leading up to the session. So let's say do a decent ride Monday, have medium carbs can be uh, 80 to 120 grams like per meal.
Mhm.
And then like green is, yeah, 150 to 200, like just a lot of carbs. So maybe lunch will be like medium, dinner will be green, and then breakfast will be medium, and then after the ride green, and then like low for like lunch and dinner kind of.
Okay.
So it'll kind of be like making sure topping up after the ride. So not going like glycogen depleted, but then tapering off once the stores are full for like maybe an easier day the next week. I mean, the next day. So,
Uh-huh.
um,
Perfect.
and that's really, really helped us manage the weight and also the hunger. Like, I think we've all been there where you're like, I need to lose weight. You're going to do a big ride and then just, try and skip lunch or something stupid. We've all done it. um, uh, and yeah, then you're just absolutely dead on the bike. So it's nice to do it properly. It works.
That's awesome. Matt, I appreciate you pulling back the curtain of your training and just mindset of racing. It's been awesome to watch you come up and, getting some of the big wins. And I know a lot of people will be rooting for you after this. Anything
Yeah,
we
thank
missed
you.
or final words for the people?
Uh, don't think so, but I think at the end of the day, just it's not too complicated and just enjoy it.
I love that. Everybody will post Matt's Instagram, give him a follow, say what's up. Good luck with your training and racing. We'll talk to y'all soon. See ya.